What's up guys, it's Ricky, and on this particular video I wanted to talk about not necessarily Ignla as you see in the title and so forth, but I wanted to talk about Matthew chapter number 7. But I thought of a perfect example of this, and Joshua Ignla is that perfect example. Now I'm gonna put up this picture up here, right? And this is Joshua Ignla before, right? And this is how he looked. This is how we knew him. This is how we came to know them. You know, like pastors, generally they have like a favorite hairstyle. You will see them with that hairstyle for like the longest time. And so this is how we knew Joshua Ignla before. But recently Joshua Ignla has been appearing like this. Now, there's all these things that people do, like hair, like they add hair, or they wear things like thingy to kind of add hair to their head, right? Some people are very image conscious, so hair is kind of like a very big deal for them. But also I do understand it's part of like people's outfits to have their hair done and stuff like that. Personally, I've never been a person into a lot of like cosmetic or adding things and stuff like that. When I was in high school, I had long hair. I would plait it, just get it out of the way, and wear a beanie or something like that. I've never been a person who was into like the fades and cut in and stuff like that, but I've had friends who are into that and they love it. Like I stated, I used to have a friend who used to do my hair, who used to cut my hair. Every single time he would pretend to forget so that he could trim me or something like that. I say, do not do that. Okay. And so I get that there's people that are into that. But think about that image of Joshua Ignla as it relates to Matthew chapter number 7, verse 15 particularly. Remember, Joshua Ignla's hair was shedding, right? He was losing hair visibly, right? You could kind of see it. But over the last few months, Joshua's hair has completely filled. Like it's full, like Bazalani, hair doesn't grow like that. Like even if you're using, what do they call them? Well, even though you're using all these things that they use to add or grow or whatnot, hair does not grow like that. There's been all these medications and stuff like that people use. But even those, sometimes they take time for them to have like even little results. Sometimes even years. And so, like I stated, I understand those that just have it as an image thing and stuff. But then it gets to people like Joshua Ignla. So you consider his doctrinal position. And then you consider his image. Joshua Ignla, his church media and stuff like that, they like putting polish on his face. Like they blur up his face with Photoshop so it doesn't show like maybe scars he might have or just skin aging, basically. I don't know what they call them and all that kind of stuff. And so I thought it was quite, like there are places where Joshua Ignla will literally look like a cartoon character, you know? Like one of those AI generated pictures, but it's a real picture. It's just that it's over polished with Photoshop. So it shows like this smooth skin. And then you see him on another picture, you're like, is this the same person? Now, the Matthew verse that I'm talking about, Matthew chapter number 7, verse 15, it says, "For beware of false prophets, right, which come unto you in sheep clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves." So the point of this video is not to say people shouldn't do this and whatnots. No. If you're hearing that, you're hearing completely wrong, right? If you're hearing me saying people shouldn't do fades and these things go with what people are interested into. Like I stated before, I have known friends who are really into cars. Like when they get a job, the first thing that they want is a car. The first thing they get their ID. The first thing they want is a driver's license. It's like a goal because they've grown in that particular thing. So we understand that balance. But think about what these guys are trying to do with it. Ne? So balance it out. What these guys are trying to achieve with it is a balance of innocence. They want to look a certain way. They want to look presentable to a certain standard, to a certain audience. Then with that presentation, the sheep clothing is kind of accepted. The sheep clothing that you are reading in Matthew chapter number 7, it's fully what they have embraced. Hair doesn't grow like that. So Ignla must have gone to do something with his hair in order to fill it out, like to fill out his hair. Whether it be a comb over or whatever, I don't know what they call them. And there's all this thing. You've seen these videos where they give people like an extension. They'll cut a certain part of their hair and then they'll take a weave and they'll cut it down to fit their hair. But they will use a thing which is exactly like their hair and you wouldn't even see the difference. And so we don't know what he used to get his hair to that point. But if you think about Matthew 7, beware false prophets, which come unto you in sheep clothing. So you know a friend who is into fashion, like the way I just explained right now. I know friends who are into art that way. I know people that are into makeup to a point where it's artistic to them. There's all these things that it makes and presents and whatnot. There's all of that. But then there are people that use it as sheep clothing. They clothe themselves with the look of the average guy, but in excellence. You know? To a point where the Ignlas of the world who claim to be focused not on earthly things are so consumed with it to a far position where they want to portray or they want to find an image of acceptance. That's why I've said, personally, I don't like suits. Personally, I just don't like suits. I find it quite, it's nice, yes, but I don't like it. If I could, I would just avoid it and just wear something else. Wear my diva t-shirts. Can you imagine me with my diva t-shirts? You know? But it's quite interesting when I saw this new thingy. Actually, when the video of Ian Genesis came out, right? So I hadn't been looking at the things that Joshua Ignla posed because sometimes Joshua is like on his own lane. I saw it then. I was like, I think something's up with this man them's hair. Is man them feeling it or is he going to? And then it came to me. We have the average guy whose image is always on point, just always, you know? Touch and taste into clothing is a certain way, it's on point, and then there's these guys who then use that image you recognize in order to shade themselves, to appear a certain way that you would accept. Yeah, tell me what you think. For me, very wolfy vibes. Remember, the extreme people will only hear the extreme. Ricky saying people should. Now, I'm just saying, because you recognize your friends, family, loved ones, and so forth, who like those things for those reasons, these guys come with that, with a picture of excellence. He has to brush up his face all the time. He has to whatnot in order to appear as that wolf. Whatever the sheep looks like to you, that's what they come looking like. If they wear three-piece suits, they have their hair in check and whatnot, they come looking exactly like that. Then you have the car lens who know that it's modern clothing, torn jeans and Air Force Ones, expensive Air Force Ones and expensive shoes. So guess what they do? They dress themselves like that. So concerned with looking like instead of being. It's so concerned with looking like prosperity. It's so concerned with looking like that he has to go that far. But I thought that was just quite interesting. Tell me what your thoughts are. It's the Reality Show, daily Christian commentary videos, and I'll see you on the next episode. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep clothing. Whatever the sheep clothing looks like for you, they're going to come exactly like that, knowing very well that you are likely to accept them because those are the kind of things you're into. Interesting.